We'll go ahead and get started. Georgia Tech defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, Andrew Thacker. We'll open it right up for questions for Coach Thacker. We'll start here with Kelly. Andrew, you guys switched back to the even front in the second half and seem to have some more success as you play more of these kind of downhill teams going forward. I imagine that's sort of something you guys have to continue to look at in terms of just adjusting the defense.
We do, yeah. We've carried 3 down and 4 down the last 2 game plans, and a lot of it is based off the personality of the offense, is the way that we dictated that one. So we went 3 and out, and then we got to a 3rd down and gave up an explosive touchdown, and we got behind 14-0. As they came out in the second half, they became very run-centric, very 11, very downhill run team, and were able to go borderline exclusively 4 down, except for 3rd down situations in the second half. So we make sure that we have both packages available in those moments. Very, very critical about what gives our young men the most success and how they're playing in that moment. Very proud of what that does include is Coach Knight, Larry Knight in the defensive tackle room, where they've had to sacrifice playing time at times. Some of those guys popped in there and played quality football in that second half, and fought and battled when we were behind and didn't execute as well as we should have to hold some drives to some field goals and give us a chance in the game. Very, very constructively critical about us as coaches about what the best things to do in those situations and relative to each offense that we face each week, but both are always available.
Rob?
In that first half, their running backs seemed to get a lot of yardage after contact. Was that a tackling issue, and did that lead to maybe some of the drills you were running today?
It absolutely, yeah. It was a point of emphasis today. We are not a pro football team. We try to make sure that we protect our guys, but what I'm trying to say is we didn't go out there on a Tuesday practice and go out there with skelly pads or go out there in shorts and T-shirts and tag each other off. So we made it a point of emphasis today to make sure that we call it topping off piles, but the first man in, making sure that we're thudding physically. We keep them off the ground and do stay up. We're not tackling to the ground this time of year going into week 9. But we thudded up and talked about the second and the third man in, knocking piles off and topping piles back without just making a direct play, but without making it direct to a player. We had a moment specifically where it's a 2-yard gain that fell forward for 8 yards, and I know that's just 6 yards in a game where we gave up more than we ever want to, but that play was indicative that we showed this morning of what we're trying to make sure that we always fight against. So those are like anything. When you get in Saturday, you play to the behaviors that you train through the course of the week. So we make sure that we absolutely address that and try to put in practical things in practice and an emphasis to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Of course, talking about tackling, Quez right now leads the ACC in tackles. What have you seen in his play and just his potential as a player on your defense?
Yeah, just productivity. Proud of Quez. I'm specifically proud of Quez today. Today's a Tuesday practice. Obviously, we are where we are, but brought as much energy, much motivation, as much just leadership today to the defense as I could have imagined. So really proud of him, particularly today. So I'm glad that piece of it's paying off for him. He is, some people, we talk about training behaviors and talking about drills and how do you tackle better and having to teach things and nuances. And then sometimes you just get guys that are just have the natural instinct of it. So I have to train Quez on a bunch of other techniques and fundamentals, but tackling is not one of those things. He's a South Georgia, Peach County dude that just kind of grew up in the muck of being able to play some ball for those dudes, and it just comes naturally. So I'm happy that he has productivity, which leads to success outside, so I'm very happy for his success, and we'll continue to ask him to do that.
Patrick?
Coach Thacker, obviously kids are playing hard, but there's been a big drop-off in turnovers the past 3 or 4 games. Is that something you can really teach? I mean, there's effort and mindfulness. Is it largely a matter of good fortune sometimes?
I wish I had a definitive answer for that. It's a great question. I've given this answer before. Everybody in the country emphasizes it. We feel like we obsess over it in our training and our teaching and not just, hey, we've had 2 weeks where we haven't had takeaways, so this week going into Miami, let's emphasize it. Like, We obsess about it from spring practice through fall camp, through the course of the season. It's part of our mantra to try to do those things, to be egregious and lead the country in takeaways. And we've got a dry spell. So what is that? How do you put your finger on that? Can you train things? Absolutely. We went back and even on a Sunday, which is normally not a takeaway circuit, we had a takeaway circuit on Sunday. It's a circuit where you train those behaviors. We watched scenarios during the course of the week. When people give away takeaways, what are they doing? How do you have those? How do you not just say, we need takeaways, we don't have them? How do you see the scenarios where you can have them? How do you learn from past experiences of when they've given them away? How do we go back and watch ones that we've had in those scenarios and then emphasize it in practice? Another thing that we can do is same thing with tackling. You're trying to protect your players because availability is so important going into week 9 of the season, but we had a more physical practice on a Tuesday. That's not a pro practice, so that requires us to hold the whistle longer and for the first thud to come in so the second and third guy can train the behavior of punching the ball out. So I hope it's a trained trait. I really do. I believe that it is. I know that we're not getting the production that we want, but then to your last point, there's some luck in it as well. Sometimes the quarterback just throws you one and you take advantage of it. Sometimes the ball hits on the ground, and we always feel like there's such momentum's plays that when they do happen, they come in waves and then they create the next one. So we will certainly never stop training and believing in the idea that it's worth the investment. We've got to make it happen.
Kelly?
Without giving away too many secrets, the defensive coordinators have a lot of different philosophies in terms of how they call, whether, like Venables at Clemson likes to call against the formation versus kind of what's your philosophy and how do you go about kind of doing that? And I know it's a quick clock. Like, can you walk us through like how much time you even have to make a decision between plays?
Sure. There's the mindset of, what's your identity, what's your philosophy. So that's the first part. We as defensive coordinators, we say we're not trying to be responsive to the offense. So hey, let's set our identity. Let's have a scheme. Let's have a structure. Let's have a base collection of plays. When we come in on a Sunday and Monday, now what does an offense do? Let's match up our base plays versus what they do first. Make sure that we can cover down just in your base structure. Then you get to what is their weakness or what are you trying to exploit? A way that Miami tries to recreate the advantage, tries to recreate the advantage is by playing fast. They play as fast as anyone in the country and create the tempo. So when they do that, what are they trying to do? They're trying to philosophically make you play less aggressive. They're trying to make you worry about their exotic formations and their tempo of it, make you have fatigue. They have to have successful plays to continue to get that going. So you're finding the balance this week of how much do we install? They do a lot, so do we do less in terms of scheme and install and this sexy blitz and that sexy blitz? Or how do we just cover things down to make sure that we eliminate explosives and eliminate hurting and harming ourselves while finding opportunities to attack? When people line up in a formation and it's no huddle and they give you time, this past week in the second half versus Virginia Tech, we had decent success and you're able to call it off of a formation or a pitcher a little bit more. They want to take that advantage away from you, so you've got to rely on the training of your base structure and practicing those things during the course of the week. So always looking for clean formations, then always looking just for down and distance and scenarios to go attack, get them off schedule. It's really difficult to play perfect defense all the way down the field. So how do you get them off schedule, specifically first down, second down, and then third down is where all the calculation comes in of the game plan through the course of the week.
How much time do you have then, like between plays against Miami and
So less. So we'll have multiple tempo calls. We'll have a sequence of tempo calls where, irregardless of what formation they give us, we'll make that call and make sure that we have 4 main calls that are completely adjusted out to every formation possible. So that's one way to think about it in that way. And then again, really try to be calculated when you see something that you like, that's friendly, that you've trained to be able to create a negative play.
I have time for a couple more. We'll start with Rod and finish up with that.
Looking at Vandyke, you really don't have much to go on. He hasn't played that many games, but is there anyone you can compare him to that you've played already? And is he another one of the athletic, ACC quarterbacks that likes to take off and run every now and then?
I'm never trying to be disrespectful, but we kind of do. We've got a pretty good sample size now. I mean, now he's going into 4 or 5 games where we've got some tape on him, so we're really starting to learn his characteristics. They have a ton of confidence in him, and they have reason to. Is he just a top-end elite runner? Is he as top-end as Berkmeister, he's not. He's capable of being able to get out of the pocket. He's ran for a touchdown on a scramble escape, but he's a natural pure thrower. I know Dave and the guys had looked at him through recruiting, so I remember him coming by and even watching his high school tape. He's just a pure thrower, so a big kid that can stand in the pocket, make all the throws, and every week I think you really see the confidence and the play calling and what he's done. So I think they made it simple on the front end, and as he's gained confidence as a freshman and they're having success, they really expanded on it, and they're relying on him to throw it. You can see their confidence on him to throw it. They're sitting back there, and they're 7-man protecting at times and running 3-man routes, and he's firing them in there. So characteristic personality is he's a growing freshman that's gaining confidence, and he is a dominant he's inadequate to learning how to be a dominant thrower right now.
If you want to wrap this up.
The secondary, obviously, the two huge 60-yard, 61, 69-yard plays, but overall, how would you assess how that group did, particularly in pass coverage?
Yeah. I'll just answer the first question. We went 3 and out. We got to a third down, third and whatever it was, 5, 6, or 7. And I know when you're out there, there was a coverage bust, but there was a defensive bust on that play. So I'm not doing that as an excuse. I'm doing that to make sure that I'm taking responsibility for those moments. But I called in that moment, the second, third down of the game, I called an aggressive trap coverage. And in that trap coverage, it's very aggressive. The coverage isn't the perfect coverage. The pressure was also a failure. So we had a failure in the coverage, and we had a failure in the pressure. That coverage is not elite unless the pressure is ran correctly and executed at a high level. So we had busts that are uncharacteristics on that pattern of the interior guys, of players in there. So that led to what became the explosive that everybody from sees as the secondary right there in that moment. But I think you almost borderline tried to throw me a softball right there. We know that that's inexcusable, that we had two coverage busts. And not only were they coverage busts on but they were third downs. It was a opportunity to go 3 and out to really set the tone for the day. We give up an explosive touchdown. And in 3 and out, a 3rd and 1 situation, they break the muddle huddle. We run a base coverage, and we don't do our job. We've got multiple guys that are so worried about making the tackle on a TFL on a 3rd and 1 that we don't have our eyes in the correct spot, and we fall into the trap of what they wanted to fall into. But I think what you're trying to say is after those explosive plays, they communicated better, they executed at a higher level, they competed for the football a little bit more, and then Virginia Tech tried to kind of run it out on us a little bit too. So there's progress there. Obviously, we're looking for the performance of Saturday. That's the only way that you guys can judge us on. Are they growing and developing? Are they becoming a more cohesive unit during practice, during the course of the week, in their meetings? Absolutely they are. They really are. They're taking pride in that. It's something that we can't show you until Saturday, and we're only graded on that performance. So yes, is there progress? Absolutely. Does it need to be more consistent? Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.